I've hung here for 17 winters now. A simple mirror mounted on the wall between the kitchen and living room. I've absorbed every reflection that passed before me. Every smile, every tear, the slow dance of morning light across their faces. They chose me together. I remember their fingerprints smudged along my edges as they positioned me just right in their first apartment. Sarah insisted I captured the best light. Michael said I made the room feel bigger. I've been the silent witness to their morning routines. Her, brushing her hair with exactly 23 strokes. Him, adjusting his tie with that little half smile when he got it perfect. The apartment smelled of coffee and toast most mornings. Their voices would overlap and intertwine, planning days, sharing dreams. I reflected it all. The way her eyes would crinkle when she laughed. The way he'd lean against the doorframe watching her when she wasn't looking. I held these images, collected them like treasures. They used to check themselves in me before going out. A shared glance, a small adjustment to each other's appearance, her straightening his collar, him tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Such small gestures, yet so full of meaning. "We look good together," he'd say sometimes. And they did. I showed them that truth. When they fought, they'd avoid looking at me, as if seeing themselves in conflict was too painful. But I still caught fragments, her flushed cheeks, his clenched jaw. And after the reconciliations, the way they'd stand together in front of me, arms around each other, studying their reunited reflection as if to memorize it. Sarah would sometimes pause before me when alone, whispering things I don't think she told anyone else. Dreams about children, fears about her career. Sometimes just standing there studying herself, as if trying to recognize the person she had become. I held all her secrets in my silver surface. The change came gradually, then suddenly. Fewer mornings together, separate routines. The silence grew heavier, filling the spaces between them like fog. I noticed how they began to avoid standing in front of me together, as if afraid of what I might show them. Last winter was when it began in earnest. The conversations grew shorter. Their reflections passed before me like ghosts. Quicker, more distant. They stopped touching when they could see themselves doing it. Sarah started applying makeup with mechanical precision, no longer meeting her own eyes in my glass. Michael shaved without his usual care, small cuts appearing on his jaw that he'd dab at distractedly. One night in December, they stood before me, both staring at their reflections, neither speaking. The distance between them just inches, but I could see it stretching into miles. The heat was on, but their breath fogged slightly on my surface, two separate clouds that never merged. I hold every image that's ever passed before me. The Christmas morning when he surprised her with the necklace she'd mentioned months before. The look on her face, disbelief melting into joy, reflected perfectly in my surface. The dinner parties where they moved in synchronized rhythm, their guests commenting on how in tune they were. The night they danced in the living room to no music at all, just swaying together while rain tapped against the windows. I remember the smell of her perfume, vanilla and something citrus, how it would linger in the air long after she'd left for work. His aftershave, woody and sharp, the sound of their keys dropping into the ceramic bowl by the door, his with a heavy clunk, hers with a lighter jingle from the small charm attached. I've watched the seasons change through the window opposite me. Spring blossoms, summer heat, autumn leaves, winter frost, all while reflecting their lives back at them. The way sunset light would catch her hair, turning it to copper. How he'd look younger in morning light, the lines around his eyes softening. And I remember the last time they made love on the couch, just within my view. How afterward they caught sight of themselves in my glass, tangled, vulnerable, connected. And for a moment, just a moment, they seemed to recognize each other again. Yesterday, Sarah stood before me longer than usual. She wore the blue dress, the one from their first anniversary. Her fingers touched the surface of my glass, leaving prints that blurred her reflection. "Who are we now?" she whispered. I couldn't answer. Later, Michael came home early. He stood in the hallway, keys still in hand, watching her reflection in me as she moved around the kitchen. She hadn't heard him come in. I showed him everything. The slight droop of her shoulders, the way she paused occasionally to wipe her eyes. Then he stepped forward, entering my frame alongside her. Their eyes met in my reflection before they turned to face each other in real life. No words at first, just presence, recognition. "I found the old photos," he said finally, "from Vermont." She nodded. A memory passed between them. Their second anniversary, a cabin with a fireplace. I hadn't been there, but I'd reflected their stories about it many times. "We were happy," she said, not a question. We were. The past tense hung in the air between them. They've covered me now. A white sheet draped over my surface as they packed the apartment into cardboard boxes. I catch glimpses when the sheet shifts, her hands wrapping mugs in newspaper, his methodical labeling of each container. They move around each other with careful choreography, maintaining distance. Tomorrow they'll take me down from this wall. I don't know if I'll stay with her or him, or perhaps be sold to strangers who know nothing of what I've witnessed. But I'll carry these reflections within me, these fragments of lives lived in my view. What I show is always true, even when painful to see. That's my purpose, to reflect without judgment, to hold moments that humans let slip away. I've watched love bloom and wither in this small apartment, seen how two people can grow both together and apart in the same space. And perhaps that's what they couldn't face in the end, their own reflection, changed by time yet still recognizable, still calling to something deep within. The light shifts now as evening approaches. Soon, darkness will fall, and I will reflect nothing but shadows. But I remain a silent witness to what was and what might have been.